Joining us now, and he's on his way down here to Georgia, Corey Lewandowski, Senior Advisor, Trump-Pence 2020. He also ran Trump's campaign in 2016, and I've been with Corey since the first day he got the job, which he turned the lights on, which was January 2nd of 2015, and he's with us now. Corey, I'm in Alpharetta, Georgia. Thanks for being with us, sir.
Well, John, thank you for having me. And look, I will be in Georgia tomorrow. I will be down campaigning all day Thursday, all day Friday. Look, there's a lot of misinformation, John. So let me just try and help set the record straight as clear as I can be. And let me be clear about one thing. I do not speak for the president. I speak with the president. And so it's two very different things. But I can tell you that I spent a number of hours with the president this week. I had the privilege to be in the Oval Office, spent some time with him talking, and he is 100% committed to helping the two U.S. senators who are running, the Republicans, get reelected because we understand what's at stake for our republic. If Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue lose this election because the people of Georgia are either upset or want to protest, our country will be worse off for it. That being said, John, there is a recourse. The recourse is not on January 5th. The recourse is at the ballot box against the governor and the Secretary of State in 2 years. And our people don't forget. And this notion that we cannot do ballot verification, signature verification, is completely absurd. Let me just let all of the listeners know something. Governor Kemp, under the COVID guidelines, which grants him enormous powers because of the pandemic, through the federal government and through the state government, has the ability immediately, regardless of what he says, to go and call for and demand that signature verification. I don't care what he is saying that he can and cannot do. We are certain this has been looked at. He can do this, and if the Secretary of State doesn't want to do it, then the governor must step in and mandate that. And if he is brought to challenge at the court, then you so be it. But let's go and start verifying these signatures and ensure that only the people who are supposed to be voting in this election are actually voting. I don't understand where the question falls.
It seems pretty clear. That's all the governor has to do. He has the power. We had Senator Beach on the other day. He said the same thing. He said, look, when I ran in a primary in April or something, or May, the governor just arbitrarily, with 3 weeks to go, moved it to a date in sometime in the future. Upset my whole plans, but he's got the power to do it. So the governor has the power to do it, but he's doing nothing. And that's the frustration part. He's doing nothing. Raffensperger is perpetuating the fraudulent votes going out without signature match, adding drop boxes. And so people are frustrated. And, Corey, they're afraid that their vote here in Georgia is going to get stolen again. What is your response to that?
Look, Sean, if we don't fix this, okay, that may happen. But think of what the alternative is if they don't show up. We are conceding this election to two far leftists if we don't show up and vote. Look, the vice president is coming back down to Georgia tomorrow. Mm-hmm. There will be additional members of the team coming to Georgia in addition to me, many others. I know the president has talked about making a return trip to Georgia. Look, I had the opportunity to speak to Senator Perdue 2 days ago. Mm-hmm. And what the senator said he would do is to once again call the governor and implore him to use his authority to do the right thing, which is to require signature verification. I go back to a very simple point. The governor has the legal ability to do this regardless of what his general counsel is telling him. He has absolutely the legal ability. And if the left wants to file an injunction against him or they want to take him to court, then let's go have a court fight and make a judge determine that people who are not allowed to be voting should have the right to vote. That's what this is about. It's about making sure lawful people can vote and people who don't do this lawfully cannot vote. What is more sacred to our republic than an election? Probably nothing. It's what separates us from all these other third world Mickey Mouse countries. Our integrity of our election system. The governor must step up. And, John, I'm not a guy who accuses people of doing things. I'm not a guy who makes threats. But I will tell you something. I know how to win a Republican primary, John. I did it 38 times with Donald John Trump. I have no problem coming down to Georgia and finding the right candidates. If these candidates, the governor and the Secretary of State don't step up and do the right thing, I have no problem recruiting somebody to come and run against these guys in the primary. And I'll tell you what, I'm pretty darn good at this thing, John. I think I'll win.
Hey, Corey, this is David Clark here. Hey, love what you're saying. I think one big thing that Senator Loefler and Perdue could do is they could say, hey, if we win January 5th, we will call for a special prosecutor to do a full investigation of the presidential election that happened, regardless of who comes in on January 20th. And I think if they call that, I think that would motivate the base. They would let the millions and millions of Trump supporters know that we care about election integrity. So I think that's something that they could do that could really get a lot of momentum.
What do you think about that, Corey?
I think it's a great idea. I think very candidly, and I don't want to get out in front of anything I shouldn't be out in front of, I think that is something that has been discussed in a number of circles. It's about finding who the right person is. And look, the notion of a special prosecutor, and I'll tell you, I lived under one under Bob Mueller, right, which we now know Joe Biden knew the whole thing was a facade from the beginning because he was briefed in January of 2017 that the whole Russia hoax was made up by Hillary Clinton's campaign staffer. Joe Biden never had the temerity or the integrity to step forward and tell anybody. He allowed this thing to be perpetuated, and the taxpayers wasted $35 million on a special prosecutor to go after Donald Trump. I think we absolutely need somebody to look into what transpired in the 2020 election cycle. This wasn't Russia collusion, which is what they claimed it was in 2016, but clearly something happened in some specific states, and we have to get to the bottom of it so that it never happens again. I think a special prosecutor should very likely be named, and I think that person should be granted the immunity of being fired from Joe Biden if Joe Biden is sworn in on January 20th.
Okay, so what Representative David Clark is saying is both of us, David is here. Obviously, he's in Georgia. He's in Beaufort. I've been here for 6 weeks. That's 42 days I've been here straight. I've been in 25 cities. So what voters are telling us, they're calling in, they're emailing, right, all over the state. They're pissed. Trump voters are pissed, Corey. They're very upset, and they're looking for Perdue and Loefler to do something to back them up to make their vote count. And if they don't, it puts them at risk here. Because beyond the fraud, we estimate about 15% are now considering not turning out as a protest. Now, we can argue it, but the reality is that is the reality of the ground right now. And it's got I'm trying to get everybody's attention. So what Representative Clark is saying is if you can get Loefler and Perdue to say just that, I'm going to demand, you put me in on January 5th, I'm going to demand a special prosecutor. I'm going to demand that they can't get fired. We're going to look into this election. He believes that's an answer to fire up the base and get him out because right now that's at risk. And, Newt Gingrich can send all the emails he wants. It doesn't matter. He doesn't matter anymore. There's a movement here, Corey, on the ground of Trump supporters, which is nothing I've ever seen, ever. It beats 2015. People are angry. They're pissed off, and they want action. David?
John, I've got almost 15,000 emails into my house account of people being upset, mad, wanting transparency, wanting questions that they have answered. And so I've been in for 6 years in the House. I've never even had 1% of voters, of people being upset about anything compared to what's happening in this election. So I think that just shows you in the 15,000 emails that we need to wake up quickly, the Republican Party, because people are not just going to sit back and be okay with what's happening. And as I've said on the radio today, the voters are more informed than ever before, and they will not forget if we just leave them to the side and we don't stand and fight for integrity of our elections.
So look, that's the thing, Corey. How do we fix this?
I agree
with you 100%.
How do we fix it? 1,000%. Listen, I sat with the president for a long time this week, and the primary topic of our conversation was Georgia. And I don't want to, betray the president's trust, John, because I talk to him a lot. I never talk about what those private conversations are. He is absolutely aware of what's going on down there. But, and I will tell you this, the president has told me point blank he wants to make sure that David and Kelly get back to the U.S. Senate. I believe a special prosecutor should be named. And I don't think we need David or Kelly to do that. I think it just needs to get done. And that should be done today, tomorrow. Yesterday, should have been done, the day after the election when we saw the shenanigans that have taken place all over this country. And I'm hopeful that still happens. That being said, my concern, and what should be the concern of the people of Georgia, is that if the two Democrats get in, let me just tell you what is at stake here. They will pack the Supreme Court. There's no question about it, because they will have a majority. They will pass the Green New Deal. They will restrict our Second Amendment rights. They will infringe on your liberties. They will defund the police. They will cut our military. These are questions. These are facts. Look at what they run on. They run on things that are so antithetical to being Americans, they shouldn't even really be serious candidates. But because of the theft and the dishonesty that has taken place in some of these places, they, in many of these public opinion polls, are leading. So listen, I don't think anybody in this country, very candidly, can say they're more pro-Trump than Corey Lewandowski. John, you look, I'm the first guy in the door. You've been there with me, and I've never wavered in almost what is now, I think 7 years, right?
Yeah, neither
I've
of us
never
have.
wavered.
Neither of us
Never.
have from the beginning.
Never, ever. And for me to say, if I lived in the state of Georgia, I'd be voting for David and Kelly is an understatement. I'm not taking time away from my family tomorrow and Friday because I got nothing to do because my kids are at home and I just want to sit at my house in New Hampshire and be here. I'm taking time away from my family to come to Georgia tomorrow because that's how important our republic is. And I'm telling you guys, don't kid yourself for 1 second. The election for the governor and for the Secretary of State is not far off. And if these guys don't do the right thing, I have no problem showing them the pain that comes with being on the Trump train when you don't do what's right. Other people have tried it, and all of them have lost, and they've gone against the president. There will be no difference there.
Corey Lewandowski with us, also Representative David Clark with us. Look, David, you just heard what Corey said here. The bottom line is, everywhere I go, everybody's gotten 20,000 emails. How do we motivate Trump voters to get out and vote for Loefler and Perdue based on what we've seen here in 6 weeks? What do we have to do?
Well, I want to say what Corey has said, I absolutely agree with. We have to win these 2 U.S. Senate seats. But I'll say also, and just from my time serving in the military, being overseas, being even in Afghanistan during the first election ever held there as a free nation, that even here in America, that you have to have confidence in your elections. You have to have confidence in your government. And I do believe this, that we will have a good turnout, but we need not just good, we need an amazing turnout to win these 2 seats. And I do believe, though, our message has to be more in letting people know that we're trying to be transparent. We're doing everything we can here in Georgia to make sure that their vote was counted November 3rd. And I do think there are a few things we still need to do, and as a party, and as all the leadership, the Speaker, Governor Kemp, Brad, who's not doing a great job at all, but to let people know that we stand with them. Because if just a few percentage feel like we don't care about them and they stay home, we will lose so much. The Democrats have total control to pass anything they want, to pack the courts, to expand Obamacare. And so anyways, I just think that Kemp and Jeff Duncan and others have to come out more and say, we want transparency, we believe in integrity, and voters, they matter. And the base that got them elected, I think some of them are forgetting, of coming out and going, well, there's no fraud. You do that too much, people will stay home, and it would kill me because I'm all in.
We got to get the vote.
Yeah.
I mean, look, this whole thing is about, we've identified, in 6 weeks, we've identified the issue with Trump voters, not motivated. Now we're trying to figure out in the next 3 weeks what we have to do to get them out. Let's get to Jeff in Trenton. Jeff, you're live with John and David Clark and Corey Lewandowski. Jeff, you're live, line 1. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I just so many thoughts here. Very disgusted, just very disgusted. And it seems like every time we get any, looks like momentum, someone like Mitch McConnell just deflates us. To me, it's a simple, very simple recipe here for them to have won. And I don't think they're going to win, Loefler and Perdue. That something big's got to change. All they had to do is be stop the steal people like us. When we were chanting fight for Trump, it's fight for us. It's the same thing. And we don't see that. And it's all about November 3rd. Just looking forward and all. If y'all don't fix November 3rd somehow, some way, you forget it. We're not going to be, you know what? Let them pack the Supreme Court. Those people deserve to be packed if the Supreme Court ain't going to stick up for us. Mitch McConnell, he doesn't deserve to be the majority leader. This is Trump's party. It's we the people party, and we know we've been cheated. That's the thing. We're not sore losers. It's any fair-minded person can see that we are being cheated. And if that doesn't get fixed, and I don't know how y'all can do it, I don't know, but that has to be fixed. Or, and the way I'm talking, and I'm sorry, I'm all worked up about all this,
it's all right, Jeff.
And I know the mainstream media and all, but this notion that I know some people saying half the country don't know it all. I don't buy that. I think the majority of us realize what's going on. I work with people remotely out of New Jersey, Michigan, and Florida, and they're just as aware as I am.
All right, let's get Corey a chance. Let's get Corey Lewandowski here a chance to respond to you. Corey, go ahead.
Jeff, you're exactly right, and I understand your frustration. And look, I think what most Americans see and have seen was that something transpired in this election that did not smell right, does not look right, doesn't pass the test. This is Donald Trump's Republican Party. President Trump is, the leader of this party and will continue to do that. And I'll tell you what, Jeff, Donald Trump wants David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler in the U.S. Senate. I don't have any inside information about this part, but I would be willing to wager, and I know Donald Trump, President Trump, candidate Trump, Mr. Trump, I know them all. I've been with them a long time. I would bet that he's going to make another trip back to Georgia to come down and ask the people on his behalf to send David and Kelly back to Washington, D.C. And there is no clearer indication that when he comes down there, and I believe he will, that is how important this election is both to him and to our country. And I understand the level of frustration. I really do. Believe me, I have put a lot of sweat equity into this campaign for years, and I believe Donald Trump very likely won, and they outsmarted us. They did things that they probably shouldn't have. But we have to win these two seats. There's really no other alternative for me.
All right. Thank you, Jeff.